Yo, what's popping? I'm here taking a look at the Shanghai Dragons after the kickoff clash into the midseason madness. Subscribe for more daily overarching content. Like the video if you like it, and comment down below how you think Shanghai is going to do heading into the midseason madness. If you're interested in my thoughts on their qualifiers going into the tournament, I did that in a video highlighting their first round match against Seoul up there. So look at that card if you're interested. But Shanghai, second seed going to the tournament, 5-1 with a +4 map differential. Uh, their first winners round one, they beat the Seoul Dynasty 3-2, very close game, but they edged them out. Winners round two, they get 3-0 by Philly. Philly continuing to have Shanghai's number, continuing to just be better against Shanghai specifically, and just beating them. And then losers round two, they do lose to the Dynasty in a nail biter, but playoff profit turns up. Smurf plays well, and Seoul Dynasty edge up. They just look a little more comfortable. They look at their losses, they figure out why they lost in winners round one. Maybe they come back stronger. So this team, their tanks are Void and Fate. Their DPS are Fleta, Lip, and Who Are You? And their supports are Izayaki, Li Zhegan, and Bebe, who got no playtime, unfortunately. Still smiling, though. So why did this team not break it past the Seoul Dynasty the second time? Well, it's been the whole story of this team looks sloppy and then turns it on when they need to. And that was the same thing in the first round, right? They did look sloppy at times. There were some bad offenses from both teams. There wasn't phenomenal gameplay. Like, it was great. It was good gameplay, very high level. But it wasn't a peak. The losers bracket, it was peak, but Shanghai still had those moments where it's like, what are you doing, Shanghai? What is going on? And that really cost them in this one, because this time Seoul were not making those mistakes nearly as much, nearly as frequently, right? And then you have playoff profit, or tournament profit. It's not really playoffs, so I'm not going to call it that. But it looks good for Seoul. Shanghai look good, not quite there. And their loss against Philly, I don't know. They just don't show up. It's crazy that they look like a completely different team against the Philly Fusion. And it's like, they don't look completely different because they still have the moments, but they only turn it up when they need to clutch up. But Philly didn't let them clutch up. It's the difference. They clutched up sometimes against Seoul. They did. But Philly, they know how to stop them from clutching. Something about how they're playing makes it very hard to clutch up against them. And Shanghai couldn't do it. It's just been the story. They're clutch, but they have to be a little more clutch than they normally should be. And that's really the most of it. Their Zarya comp, good. It didn't look better than Smurfs, than the Soul Zarya comp. To the surprise of Smurf on off tank, but it was good actually. And Who Are You looked lights out on the Genji, but whenever he was forced into Tracer, you're playing Tracer into Profit, so it's not going to be exactly what you want. Maybe Lip played great, Li Zhegan played good. You can't really fault the roster. It's just, as a team, there was some pretty poor decision making going on. There were some fights where you use 5 ults and you not win. You can't have that. You can't just be throwing ults away. We'll see. They did, of course, have poor internet issues. They had problems because of the Chinese lockdown. It suffered greatly. They didn't even have the cams because they couldn't let that extra bandwidth get away from them. They needed every bit of internet they could get. So those issues may be resolved heading into the next stage. I expect them that they would be, but I don't know. But looking at their matchup, of course, it's round robin, so they play everyone. But they play Soul Spark right away. That's rough to play those two teams, and then you play Philly, and then you get the 3 worst teams on the back end. Ooh, that's gonna be hard. Because right now, all those teams have the well, okay, it's Apex, so anything can happen, right? But I'd rather have your bad teams later in the stage, or your bad teams earlier in the stage, so you can gain confidence on them maybe, and you can build yourself up, and you can patch your weaknesses in scrims more than in matches. Now that you're playing Soul, Spark, and then Fusion right away, that's rough. They could go 0-3 technically, because those teams all have the potential to upset them. Philly, you can expect Philly to beat them. However, I think Shanghai are kind of due for a win against them. They've lost the last 3 in a row to Philly, like 3-0 or something. I would anticipate maybe Philly winning or losing a match here. Like the odds of Philly getting 4 match wins on Shanghai in a row, kind of slim. So despite they having the number, despite Philly having Shanghai's number, Shanghai's due for a win sometime. Maybe it's here. And you have to hope that you have to get at least one of those. You don't want to go 3-3. You have to get at least one of those. I know that they will, but their gameplay will need to improve, and I expect it will. So, I don't know. It's A-Pack. Predictions are hard. The teams are really close. Spark probably trending on the decline after that tournament. Maybe you expect a win there. Maybe you expect a rematch win against Seoul. I don't know. I think for me personally, that first week, I would probably pred them to beat Seoul and lose to Spark, maybe. I don't know. It's hard. I'm also a Spark fan, so that's maybe copium. So, I don't know. But it's hard to say. It's impossible. I just think this is probably the worst schedule outcome you could have. Even though it's a round robin, this is like the worst order I think you could possibly have. It's literally an order from best to worst, except for Flips, Philly, and Spark, basically. That's rough. But yeah, hopefully they fix their consistency issues. Hopefully they stop having to be as clutch as they are. And they save that for when they really need it. And other than that, they play sound Shanghai Overwatch, So that's going to be it for me. Have yourself a good one, and deuces.